All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, as always, I like to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Racha HaKodash, double honors unto the apostles and elders who rule well, the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, that is. Uh, Salutations to you sincere, hopefully like I can push in the word of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, in spirit and in truth. All right, Ma'ah Arabai a lot, that is to say 144,000 in Elashawan Kodash. That is what we are striving to be a part of. Um, Shalom to you fellow laborers, striving for the masteries. Now, in this lesson, I want to get into, America, pretty much its friends deserting it. All right, all its allies are deserting it. All right, Babylon the Great's allies are leaving it high and dry, and it's starting, um, you know, by way of them not assisting in that situation going on in the Middle East. All right, the so-called Middle East, in particular, the Strait of Hormuz, which is being currently blocked off by Iran. Okay, now we know what the scriptures say. Um, about Babylon and its allies in these last days. Which let me grab this real quick. All right, let me read this first. This is Obadiah chapter 1. All right, it says Edom will be humbled. Okay. Obadiah verse 1, it says the vision of Obadiah, thus saith the Lord Yahweh concerning Edom, we have heard a rumor from Yahweh, and an ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise ye, let us rise up against her in battle. Okay. So Edom is being ready to, or is getting ready to be attacked by its, allies and enemies. Okay. In the NLT it says this is the vision that the sovereign Yahweh revealed to Obadiah concerning the land of Edom. We have heard a message from Yahweh that an ambassador was sent to the nations to say, get ready, everyone. Now, when you think of America, okay, or Edom, all right, when you think of the Edomite, when you come into the truth, in particular, when you come into the truth and you learn about Esau, Edom, when you hear Edom, the first thing that comes to mind is a so-called American, all right, so-called white person here in America. They are the spokesperson and the poster child of the Edomites. All right, the race of Esau, Edom. Okay, so eventually, um, this place, the land of Edom, in particular, America is going to be become a target. All right, and we see that actually shaping and taking form in the earth currently. All right, it says let me see that an ambassador was sent to the nation to say, get ready, everyone, let's assemble our armies and attack Edom. So what's happening over in the Middle East is going to cause all these militaries to roll over to pretty much be dead set on being adversaries to the U.S. and Israel. All right, and you see it actually taking place currently. All right, the whole situation with Israel attacking Iran. All right, backed by the U.S. That plan they had was not well thought out, and really, according to the scriptures, the least of the flock drawing them out. The least of the flock being the small hats has pretty much bullied the U.S. Into this war. All right, and this is all a fulfillment of biblical prophecy. All right, you got prophecy that's coming to pass in the form of these things taking place. All right. Verse 3 says, the pride of thine heart hath deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the cliffs of the rock, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? And that's America's mind frame. Okay. America never thought that it would be looking as pitiful as it looks in regard to a military power that they perceive to be inferior to them, actually withstanding, an onslaught of attacks that's, being thrown at them. All right, the Iranians are showing themselves resilient, in this war that's taking place. All right, I believe it's 13 days. It's been going on 14, almost 2 weeks. I want to say about 2 weeks. What's today? Let me see. Today is what is today? Is the 12th? All right. I believe it's 12th. These days be flying by so damn fast. But yeah, so all right, so what's a locket, man? I'm tripping. Yeah, the 10th. Well, anyways, whatever day it is. Oh, this is crazy. Salagi, hold on. Salagi, it's the 17th. Good Lord. Man, that's crazy. Where time flew by so fast. That's crazy. Anyways, man, Salagi, the brain fart like a mother. I knew it was the 17th from work earlier, but I was looking at a calendar, but time fly by so fast. Anyways, Salaki for that. But anyways, so it's been about 17, 18 days, that war has been, you know, active. And, this place it never thought that it'd be, America. All right. It never thought that it'd be in the situation that it's in now, looking pitiful against a army, as I said, that it considered inferior. All right, and they've withstood them thus far, and actually, have America and Israel begging for help. All right, from other nations. Okay, but America is lofty, it's proud. All right, its infrastructure is reminiscent of the caves. All right, Esau's his his nature. All right, his core is a caveman, which is why every Edomite architecture or a country that you go to, their architecture is that of Petra, okay, of ancient Edom, okay, but that pride is going to be brought down, all right, and we're seeing it actually begin to happen, all right, which it happened in the form of what it's going to get into in verse 4, okay. Uh, Verse 4 says, though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and though thou set thy nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down to the ground, saith Yahweh. All right, that whole space race, which they never actually went to the moon, but in the late 70s, or excuse me, the late 60s, early 70s, is when Esau started to, fall from that pristine status that he once held. Okay, because that the Vietnam War that ushered in drug use at an all-time high, and since then, drug use amongst Americans has been increasingly getting worse. Okay, to where now you got Edomite teens on fentanyl overdosing off of the Fetty Wap. All right, but the Most High is, bringing and is about to, officially bring Esau down to the ground. All right, and that's gonna happen by way of thermonuclear missiles. All right, verse 5, it says, if these came to thee, if robbers by night, let me read this in the NLT. It says, verse 5, if these came at night and robbed you with a disaster, what a disaster awaits you. They would not take everything. Those who harvest grapes always leave a few for the poor, but your enemies will wipe you out completely. All right. And the way this place is going to be completely wiped out is because that thermonuclear fire is going to sweep across the whole of America and leave nothing remaining. Okay. Verse 6, it says in the KJV, how are the things of Esau searched out? How are his hidden things sought up? All right, all these plays that America thinks, they as well as Israel is going to run and take the Greater Israel Project, for instance. Everybody knows that's genocide. All right, that whole Greater Israel Project cannot come about without genocide being performed on the people that dwell in the land mass that they want to conquer. And Gaza is the example of that. Okay, that was the first sample of genocide that the small hats want to commit in achieving, the Greater Israel Project. Okay, so that in itself is an example how Esau's hidden things are sought up. Okay, it says verse 7, it says, all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. Okay. And that's going into this article that I have queued up that I'm gonna get after this next two verses. All right, next verse. This in verse 8. Okay, it says, all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. Okay. So all the nations that was cool with you, had pacts with you, agreements and deals, is ultimately going to forsake Babylon. All right, when the time comes. Okay, it says the men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him. Okay, so Esau, this crackhead Donald Trump that's in office, he don't even understand the magnitude of what he's doing and how these nations is pretty much gearing up to flip on America. Okay, this dude is full of so much pride and arrogance that he doesn't even see that these nations that he considers allies, and even the EU and NATO nations, they ain't dealing with this dude like that no more. They ain't dealing with America. All right, and him pretty much condemning them for not wanting to help in this war and via or between Iran and Israel and America is going to further drive a wedge between America and its allies. All right, so there's a wound being laid for America, and this dude don't even know it. Okay. Verse 8, it says, shall I not in that day, save the Lord Yahweh, even destroy the wise men out of Edom and understanding out of the mount of Esau? All right, so Esau is looking at the presidential cabinet that we currently have shows you that there's no more understanding in the mountain of Esau, because who sits at the head or at the top of the mountain of the nation of Esau, Edom, is the small heads, but by way of America. And when you put those two together, man, there's no understanding, or there's no understanding in the mountain of Esau, Edom anymore. And these nations is finding that out, which is why the nations, you know, are distancing themselves from America and Israel. All right, the whole world woke up to the fact that Israel is a as they say, what they call it. They say a genocidal regime, or genocidal. It's another word. It's a term they use for it. But that's what it is, man. Okay, it's a genocidal uh uh race of people, so to say. Okay, so-called nation. Um, verse 9. I'm gonna read 9 too. It says, "And thy mighty men, O Teman, shall be dismayed to the end that every one of the mountain of Esau may be cut off by slaughter." Okay, so Teman represents the Germans, which are supposed to be the wisest of the Edomites. All right, which today, like I said, the so-called Germans, they don't even want to, back up America, in Israel in that war. Okay, so getting into the article, and this is from RT.com, and as you see, it says, "Not our war, how the world has reacted to Trump's call to patrol the Hormuz Strait." Says nations getting oil through the key shipping lane should send warships to the region the American president has demanded. So this nigga demanded that if you get nations by way of the Strait of Hormuz, your ass need to be down there crashing out. All right. So I'm gonna read this article, and it gives little snippets from various countries that this dude pretty much called upon. All right, and this is how their leaders responded. Okay, so it says U.S. President Donald Trump has called on all nations getting oil through the Strait of Hormuz to send their warships to secure navigation through the key shipping lane. Shipping through the strait has been largely disrupted for over 2 weeks since the U.S. and Israel launched an unprovoked attack on Iran. All right, key word, unprovoked. All right, so the U.S. and Israel started this war. It says, as part of its response, Tehran, which is the capital of Iran, has barred vessels from countries it considers hostile from passing through the narrow waterway. So if you want to continue to get some oil via that strait, it's best to be considered by the Iranians as a non-hostile. All right. It says the development sent global crude prices up nearly 50% to over $100 a barrel, as nearly a fifth of global crude shipments passed through the route. And with that, crude prices going up by nearly 50%, really it has affected America already. Okay, because a spot that I'd usually get gas at, it was in 24 hours, the gas price went up 10 cent. All right, it went up, I want to say 40 cent from I want to say it was $5 and I want to say 39 cents. It was either 39 or 49 cents. I think it was 39 cents. $5.39 on Friday morning before I went to work. Today is $5.89. So that's less than a week. All right, it went up 50 cents. Okay, so if this continues to keep going on, man, gas prices are about to be crazy. Okay, which we cheer and we cheer that on. We want that to happen. All right, because that's gonna, man, it's gonna be a monkey wrench. With gas prices get going astronomically high, that's gonna be the monkey wrench that's gonna get thrown into the economy, man. All right, which is gonna have things come to a screeching halt fast. Watch through the spirit. It says Trump posted on Truth Social that he hoped China, France, Japan, South Korea, and the UK would send ships to the area, among others. The U.S. president doubled down on Monday, telling the Financial Times that if there's no response or if it's a negative response, I think it will be very bad for the future of NATO. So, this dude is crazy because, one, China, Japan, and South Korea are not a part of NATO. Which is probably two different segments of a quote that they took and put together or whatever. But yeah, but just FYI, China, Japan, and South Korea are not a part of NATO. But being that NATO has Article 5, which is if you attack one NATO member, that's considered an attack on all NATO members. But showing you that Esau, they pick and choose when they want to actually uphold the so-called law that they came up with. Continuing on, it says the world, however, appears to be in no rush to heed his call. All right, these nations ain't fucking with America like that. All right, not no more. Okay, America is the bully that got punched in his mouth, and now this nigga's crying, and so all these other nations that was getting bullied, that was scared to even, they was just giving their lunch money to America, and letting America take its girlfriend, and all this shit. The shit you see bullies do in movies. That's what America's been doing. Taking resources and things of that nature. All right. And giving you the scraps from its banquet. Be happy, be satisfied with that. Giving you slop. And these nations, seeing that Iran, socked the big homie, and it's and the puppet master Israel socked both of them niggas, and both of them is crying. So these nations is like, oh man, what? Hold on. Even America's allies, because America's allies is only allies because of fear of retribution, or fat man and little boy, in the case of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, all right, getting them atom bombs dropped on their ass in Japan. All right, they don't want that treatment, so they, getting down with the program. All right, but things is changing, man. So anyways, Germany. It says, and this is the responses that these leaders from these various nations gave in regard to Donald Trump begging them to go to the Strait of Hormuz and crash out. Okay, it says any participation of the German military in an operation in the Strait of Hormuz is ruled out. No. All right, that's a big capital N-O. All right, Defense Minister Boris Pistorius told journalists in Berlin on Monday, "It is not our war. We did not start it," he stated. He also expressed doubts about whether such an operation would make sense at all. What does Donald Trump expect a handful of two of European frigates to accomplish in the Strait of Hormuz that the powerful American Navy cannot achieve there alone? The minister said, and that's a valid point. Here it is. You got this big bad Navy, and if they can't mess with Iran, what the hell makes you think, some measly little, ships from Europe is gonna do? Okay. It says the EU, the European Union. Brussels has rejected Trump's demand to help secure the strait, with the bloc's with the bloc's foreign policy chief Kaja Kallas telling journalists on Monday that this is not Europe's war and that no one wants to go actively in this war. She acknowledged that it is in our interest to keep the Strait of Hormuz open, and that is why we are also discussing what we can do in this regard, but stressed that the EU has no appetite to expand Operation Aspides, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, Aspides, which is currently limited to operations in the Red Sea, which I believe Aspides is like a shield. All right. It says Australia, Canberra will not contribute any vessels to a potential operation. Transport Minister Catherine King told national broadcaster ABC on Monday, "We won't be sending a ship to the Strait of Hormuz. We know how incredibly important that is, but that's not something we've been asked or we're contributing to," she said. Japan, all right, which Japan is an ally of America. Australia is an ally. EU is an ally. Germany is an ally. Okay, so Japan says Tokyo has no plans to send any vessels to the Strait of Hormuz. Prime Minister Sanae Takashi, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, said on Monday, "We have not made any decisions whatsoever about dispatching escort ships. We are continuing to examine what Japan can do independently and what can be done within the legal framework," she told the parliament. The prime minister is expected to discuss the conflict with Trump in person during her visit to Washington this week. So that's something to look out for. All right, to see what transpires from that meeting that they about to have this week, Japan and America. It says Greece. It says Athens will not get involved in any military operations in the Strait of Hormuz. Government spokesperson or spokesman Pavlos Marinakis said on Monday, "No promises." That's from the UK. London is looking through the options in the wake of Trump's call. Prime Minister Keir Starmer told journalists on Monday he stated that the UK was considering deploying ships and mine-hunting drones to the Middle East, but made no commitments regarding the Strait of Hormuz specifically. All right, now there was, if I remember correctly, there was something. I think the UK said that they would allow I want to say some strikes on Iran from their bases or something like that a couple weeks ago. I could be wrong, but I think I remember something along those lines. Which so and really those that run the UK are the small hats. Okay, that's where the elite bankers dwell. All right, and over in the UK, that's where the finances is controlled. Okay, that's where the finance is controlled. All right, and so You know, they're matter of fact, the Rothschilds are the ones who, under the Balfour Declaration, you know, pretty much gave those small hats the license to take that land. All right, in 1948, being 1948 when they actually went up in that land. Okay, and so those small hats, those Rothschilds are small hats themselves. So they're trying, they're trying to do things behind the scenes. All right, because they're fully on board with what the Israelis and the U.S. is doing. All right, in that war with Iran. Okay, so that's why this dude Keir Starmer, holds this stance. Okay, it says he stated that the UK has considered deploying ships and mine hunting drones to the Middle East, but made no commitments regarding the Strait of Hormuz specifically. While taking the necessary action to defend ourselves and our allies, we will not be drawn into the wider war, he said. The Prime Minister also maintained he would like to see the conflict end as quickly as possible. According to Starmer, the UK is, quote, not at the point of decisions yet, unquote. London is still discussing the matter, quote, with the U.S., with Gulf partners, and with the Europeans, unquote. He added, calling it, quote, a difficult question, unquote. All right, Italy. This is Italy's stance. Rome is in favor of, quote, strengthening, unquote, the existing EU aspides, which aspides or aspide as a shield, uh, mission in the Red Sea. Foreign Minister Antonio Tajani told journalists in Brussels on Monday. Launched in February 2024, the mission involves providing military escorts for merchant vessels going through the area and defending them from potential attacks by the Yemen-based Houthi militants. The operation includes 2 or 3 European warships present in the Red Sea at any given moment. All right. Tajani expressed skepticism about whether the mission could be, quote, expanded to include the Strait of Hormuz, unquote. All right, this is Denmark's response. Copenhagen should keep an open mind about options regarding the Strait of Hormuz. Foreign Minister Lars Løkke Rasmussen told journalists on Monday, quote, as a small country that we are, but a large maritime nation, we must remain open to this question, unquote. He said, adding that, quote, Denmark is a seafaring nation and we have in every way an interest in ensuring free navigation, unquote. He maintained that Denmark and the EU should look for ways to contribute, quote, but with a view toward de-escalation, unquote. The minister also said that Copenhagen had not received any direct requests for aid from Washington. All right. So Denmark ain't fucking with y'all. All right. And I believe, what is that? Denmark that owns Greenland, if I'm not mistaken. So this dude, look at this dude, pathetic individual. This dude shot himself in the foot, man. Look at that guy, man. Oh, shit. South Korea. All right. It says Seoul will take a stance on the matter following, quote, careful, unquote, consideration, the South Korean presidential office said on Sunday. Quote, we will communicate closely with the U.S. regarding this matter and make a decision after careful review, unquote, it stated. Under the nation's constitution, any overseas deployments would require parliamentary approval, all right? which, you know, you already got Marines from the U.S. sent over to this region in the Middle East, and they're supposed to go through Congress for that, and they didn't. All right, so at least the South Korea is you know, actually abiding by you know, their laws, which is something America doesn't do. All right, International Maritime Organization. It says the IMO cannot guarantee the safety of ships attempting to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. The organization's Secretary General General Arsenio Dominguez has told the Financial Times, noting that military assistance is, quote, not a long-term or sustainable solution, unquote, to open up the waterway. Quote, we are collateral damage of a conflict when the root causes have nothing to do with shipping, unquote. And that's a fact. You collateral, anybody that goes and assists in the Strait of Hormuz, assisting America and Israel, you are collateral damage. All right. And as he said, the root causes have nothing to do with shipping. It has to do with the U.S. and Israel. All right, on a crash out mission to fulfill the Greater Israel Project. That's all it is. Okay, and then, you know, the elites had that list, as the apostles always go into it. You know, Apostle Gabar, Aaron Russo had an interview with Nick Rockefeller, where Nick Rockefeller was stating that, you know, there was certain nations in the Middle East that that Esau wanted to take out in a span of 7 years, which, you know, that it took way long. Was taking longer than it's not going to actually come to fruition as far as them crowning their enterprise with success. But they've taken down a lot of those countries. All right, and Iran is the last one. Okay, so this is all part of, you know, Esau's NWO agenda and whatnot, which the Greater Israel project is a part of that. Okay, so you jumping into assist America, you gonna be collateral damage, crashing out. You know, all for, you know, some small hats at the end of the day. Okay. Um, Alternative path. All right, so this is what China says. It says Beijing believes that, quote, all parties have the responsibility to ensure stable and unimpeded energy supply, unquote. Li Pingyu, a spokesperson from the Chinese embassy in the U.S., said on Sunday, China will, quote, strengthen communication with relevant parties to achieve de-escalation. He added, or strengthen communication with relevant parties, unquote, to achieve de-escalation. He added, in early March, Reuters reported that Beijing was in talks with Tehran to ensure unimpeded shipments of crude and Qatari liquefied natural gas through the Strait of Hormuz. China's energy supply remains, quote, relatively strong, unquote, and forms a, quote, relatively good, unquote, foundation for withstanding external market volatility. Fu Linghui, spokesperson. Salagi, man, I know that sounded crazy. Spokesperson at the National Bureau of Statistics told journalists on Monday. All right, India. It says New Delhi has called talks with Iran the most, quote, effective way, unquote, to restart the passage of ships through the key shipping lane. Indian Foreign Ministry S. Jaish Shankar told the Financial Times on Sunday that he was engaged in talks with Tehran and the negotiations had yielded, quote, some results, unquote. According to the minister, there is no, quote, blanket arrangement, unquote, with Iran for Indian flagged ships, and, quote, every ship movement is an individual happening, unquote. The diplomatic efforts still made it possible for 2 Indian flagged gas tankers to pass through the strait. He added, quote, certainly from India's perspective, it is better that we reason and we coordinate and we get a solution than we don't, unquote, the minister said. All right, what does Iran say? Question. Tehran has already been approached by a number of countries willing to secure safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz. Foreign Minister Abbas uh, Araghchi told CBS on Sunday. He also denied that Iran was at fault for the traffic disruptions in the strait in the first place. Quote, we are open to countries who want to talk to us about the safe passage of their vessels, unquote, the minister said. Quote, this is up to our military to decide, and they have already decided to let a group of vessels belonging to different countries to pass in a safe and secure way, unquote. According to Araghchi, Iran has never closed the strait. The vessels, quote, are not coming themselves because of the insecurity which is there because of the aggression by the U.S., unquote, he added. All right, so there you have it. You have responses from various nations on them pretty much saying, we ain't coming to help America. All right, the strait being closed is it is what it is. And you know, we're not coming to crash out for America and Israel. All right, and the opposite end of that is them actually having some type of dialogue with Iran to get as India stated, you know, to be allowed to actually navigate those waters, you know, being that they're not a threat. Okay, so more countries is going to take that stance than, you know, going to go crash out for the small hats, all right, in America. So grabbing this precept here, Habakkuk 2:1, it says, I will stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower, and will watch to see what he will say unto me, and what I shall answer when I am reproved, excuse me. All right, so part of our job is to continuously, you know, watch to see, you know, what it is that the Lord is communicating to us in the form of prophecy, you know, so that way we can give a response. All right, and the way we give responses is by, you know, warning the flock, doing these videos. Okay, and you know, we're watching and we seeing something monumental happen as you know, in regards to this you know, war popping off with the small hats drawn, or the least of the flock drawing these nations, you know, into that region. Hey, that's something that's got to be reported and you know, answered. All right, we got to give an answer to that. All right, so we do these videos and prophesy that. All right, let our people. We want our people of what that is. You know, let them know that's in the scriptures. Okay, that's prophecy unfolding before your very eyes. Verse 2, it says, and the Lord Yahweh answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables that he may run that readeth it. Okay. In the NLT, it says, verse 2, it says, then the Lord Yahweh said to me, write my answer plainly on tablets so that a runner can carry the correct message to others. And the only way you really gonna get that correct message is through the prophets of Great Millstone, starting first and foremost with our apostles and elders. All right, being that GMS has 100% truth. All right, the elders, the bishops, the apostles. All right, having that 100% truth, really breaking down the scriptures the correct way. Verse 3, it says, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry. All right, so seeing what we see over in the Middle East, the so-called Middle East, is a clear indication that, you know, the division is not tarrying, man. All right, it is here. All right, World War III is here, man. All right, that situation it's not gonna die down to a complete you know, where it's not even smoldering anymore. Just like 9/11, you know, the apostles say that when those towers went down, you know, it was a hell of time that passed, weeks, if I'm not mistaken, or something like that, and you know that site it was still smoldering. All right, and you know, I can you know, envision that, because you know, working with metal, you know, if you plasma cut some metal, or flame cut some metal, a big ass chunk of metal, you know, there's a slag or debris, you know, slag is pretty much it turns into lava. All right, so if you were to take a big ass torch and torch metal, that metal turns into lava, and that lava is just gonna accumulate at a low point, and it's just gonna smolder. You know, even when it's not bright red, like, you know, like lava looks when it's at a hot ass temperature, even when it cools down, or the color goes back to looking like a iron or whatever, or metal. Touch that shit if you want to, man. Touch it if you want to. Be my guest. You gonna burn this shit out yourself. All right. So that's smoldering. Okay. So verse 3, it says, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak, it shall and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry. All right, so it's here. All right, World War III is here, man. It says, behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. And that's speaking to Esau, Edom. All right, the soul of the so-called white man is not upright. All right, but in these days, these last days, the just is gonna live by faith. Okay, we living by faith. Simple and plain. Verse 5, it says, yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home. All right, so this fool is America. All right, the U.S. is way the hell over in the Middle East. All right, where they don't belong. Had all them damn bases set up. All right, Qatar, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Yemen, or it might not have been Yemen. Bahrain, you know, United Arab Emirates, okay, Saudi Arabia. All right, had all them damn bases set up, and got them shits blown up. a large portion of them, if not all of them, command centers and uh, radar and all, got all that shit blew up. All them garrisons. All right. Esau's desire is as hell. Okay. He's a proud man. He doesn't keep at home. He's in everybody's backyard telling them what to do, eating their food, banging their women, drinking their liquor. Okay. Who enlarges his desire as hell and is as deaf and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations and heapeth unto him all people. And America is a one big melting pot of all heathen. Heathen from all over the road over can be found here in America. All right. Just look a couple years ago when they had the borders open. People, risking their lives to come here to America. Okay. But, gathereth unto him all nations and heapeth unto him all people. All right. He is as deaf and cannot be satisfied. All right. The Greater Israel Project. Them small hats don't even belong in that land. And they trying to take and form a order, take other people's lands and add that to their artificial blessing. Crazy. Verse 6, it says, shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his? Okay. Esau going on that crash out mission, America and Israel in particular crashing out to take what don't belong to them, is gonna get their ass killed, man. It's gonna get this place blown up. Both Israel and America, according to biblical biblical prophecy, is gonna be blown up. Okay, by thermonuclear missiles, and we see how that is rapidly transpiring. Okay, it says, how long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. All right, I bought yat for the word clay in the Hebrew. All right, that word clay is I bought yat, which means debt, and that dollar is a debt bearing note, which pretty much puts the user in debt. All these countries to some degree that use that dollar found themselves in debt, which is why you had the BRICS nations form, certain nations formed the BRICS, which the I want to say the principal nations being Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. All right, and now you have you had a whole bunch of other nations that signed on to the BRICS, but those are the founding members. And this war is affected them. This war has affected BRICS initially. All right, so verse 7, shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee, and awake that shall vex thee, and thou shalt be for booties unto them? All right, so these nations is they hip to Esau's BS. They hip to they know that the problem in the earth is America and Israel. The nations are hip to that, man. All right. And verse 8, it says, because thou hast spoiled many nations, all the remnant of the people shall spoil thee because of men's blood and for the violence of the land, of the city, and of all that dwell therein. Okay. And there's more to this chapter, but I'm gonna leave it there, man. Esau's getting his comeuppance. America and Israel in particular is getting their comeuppance. They've spoiled many nations, destroyed many nations. Regime change, robbed these nations. Exploited these nations, shed blood murdered, killed, shit. The Epstein class, the Epstein list. All right, that was they took their show on the road, man. You know, the Epstein class that's going on all over the world, with Esau at the forefront of all that shit. Okay, so there's a whole bunch that Esau is guilty for and gonna have to pay by way of the small hats being destroyed, the land of Israel being cleansed with fire, in America being completely destroyed by fire with all these Edomites in it and the heathens, you know. But nobody's coming to save America. All right. So, Lord willing, that was edifying lesson. Till next time, I say shalom.